What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about opening weekend for both the Mets and the Yankees. The Metros start off 1-2 in Houston, while the Yankees demolished the Brewers in a 3-game sweep. But it doesn't come without controversy as the new torpedo bats take the headlines. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I'm going to start with the Mets. They went 1-2 in Houston, but it's no big deal. It's only the first series of the year. There's 162 games. But Juan Soto, in the first game of his Mets career, was pretty good, I thought. Despite striking out to end the game, he was on base 3 out of the 5 times he hit. I'll take that any day of the week from any hitter, including Juan Soto. 3 out of 5 times on base, that's an OBP of 600. But he struck out to end the game on an un-Soto-like at-bat, so, you paid $230 for that swing. Bro, it's one at-bat. It's one swing. This is a 15-year contract. And then the next day, they paid another $230 for a homer. Huh? That's the Soto we know. That's the Soto that the Mets are going to be getting most of the time. That one swing might have been the worst swing I've ever seen out of Juan Soto's career, and he still had a good game. And the next night, he followed it up with his first Mets homer, so it just continues his good play. I don't think I've seen a Juan Soto at bat where it's uncompetitive. Juan Soto isn't disciplined. Juan Soto swings at horrid pitches besides that one pitch. And Juan Soto doesn't hit the ball well. That's just not what he does. And the way he walks up to the plate, it's like he knows he's going to get a hit. It's like he feels, he's got the confidence, the energy that he's going to get a hit. And a lot of the time he does. I love what I've seen out of Juan Soto, and I love what I've seen out of his protection, specifically Pete Alonso early in the year. His first at-bat of the season against Framber Valdez, he worked a full count and eventually a walk, but what I loved was the discipline he showed. He took a couple good pitches, he fouled some balls off, he only swung at stuff inside the zone. I want to see a lot more of that out of Pete Alonso this year. I want to see a lot more of discipline, of working walks, of making pitchers come to him. If he can do that, Pete Alonso is going to have a huge year, and he's already going to break Darryl Strawberry's franchise home run record, but he's going to obliterate it if he can make pitchers come after him. Because if he's not expanding the zone and making pitchers come to him, he's going to get pitches right where he wants it. And then he knows what time it is. He knows it's time to hit the ball far. He knows it's time to hit the ball hard. And he knows it's time to hit the ball out of the park. That's what Pete Alonso does. Pete Alonso is one of the most prolific power hitters in the sport of baseball. If he can just learn to lay off of balls, he is going to be so lethal. So incredibly lethal. It's going to be amazing. For Juan Soto, for Pete Alonso, for Mark Vientos, for Brandon Nimmo, it's just going to help everyone out. Because it increases the pitcher's pitch count. It increases their fatigue. And it's just huge for the team to keep innings going, extend innings, put runners on base, put traffic on the base paths. That's what we need out of Pete Alonso. We know he's going to hit the homers. Now, he's just got to get on base more. Increase his average, increase his on-base percentage. Because if he wants that massive contract that he's looking for and Scott Boras is looking for, he's got to do those things. He's not going to get the $350, $400 million contract if he can just hit homers. And yes, he's great on not great, but he's a very solid defender. It's one of the more underrated aspects of his game, and it's improved mightily since coming in the league. But if he can increase his average and his on-base percentage, those are two of the things that are really going to solidify him and help teams give him that larger contract that he's looking for. Pete Alonso can be one of the better hitters in the sport of baseball. He's just got to do those two things. The last thing I want to talk about with the lineup is two more things, actually. Francisco Lindor first, and then Luis Angel / Brett Beatty second base role after that. Francisco Lindor didn't have a great series. He didn't get a hit in Houston, but I'm not worried. This is how he started off last year, and then he went on to be runner-up in the MVP voting. He sucked all of April and the majority of May, and then he just turned it on. He flipped a switch, and he turned into an MVP candidate. He was hitting about 190 until that moment, until he called the players-only meeting towards the end of May. After that, he was probably hitting closer to 315. Because he finished the year hitting 239, I want to say. And he did it all from June to September. He did not do himself any favors by starting off the way he did in April and May. So I hope he doesn't do it this year, but I'm also not going to be worried, upset, whatever adjective you want to put in there to describe my feelings towards Francisco Lindor. Because he's going to be fine. I'm not worried about the first series of the year. Because he had a RBI scoring hit tonight against the Marlins. He did have an RBI in the series. I think it was a sac fly on opening day. So I'm not worried about Lindor. He just had his kid. I think that's going to be a huge boost for him. Last year when he had his first kid, it was his daughter. He went on a tear. He hit a homer his first game back. I think he only missed one game. And he didn't even miss the game. He came in off the bench. But the next day, he hit a homer. And he went on one of those streaks where Francisco Lindor is unstoppable. I'm hoping his son Koa brings similar results. I'm not worried. And last thing I want to talk about lineup-wise for the Mets is Luis Angel Acuna and Brett Beatty, but their battle for second base. I'm still sticking with Acuna. On opening day, Acuna worked a 12-pitch walk against one of the better closers in the sport, Josh Hader. He showed poise, maturity, discipline, all the things you're looking for out of a kid that is in his first full MLB season. He's never made the team out of camp. He played for about 3 weeks at the end of last year, and he hit 308. Brett Beatty has had 3 legit chances to be the starting third baseman on this team, and he hasn't proved himself in any 3 of those chances. Why would I continue to stick with that guy? I don't understand. I don't trust his defense at second base yet. I get Acuna had an error on opening day. He threw the ball away on a double play. But I still trust him more. I think it's one of those things where it's out of the ordinary. It's something that you're not used to. It's his first opening day as a big leaguer. There's got to be nerves. It was early in the game. It's either the first or the second inning. And it is what it is. I don't trust Brett Beatty's defense at second base. He was barely above average, if he was above average, at third base. He was a pretty average defender, I would say. So I trust Acuna hitting. I trust his speed. I trust his athleticism. And I trust his defense. That's 4-0 for Acuna. I don't trust Brett Beatty enough. He's had his chances. It's not going to work out. All right, now let me get to the bullpen. A bullpen that has been absolute nails for the Mets to start this year. They were scoreless in Houston. They didn't allow a single run in Houston. And the Friday night game, when Reed Garrett came in with 1 out, runners on first and second, and Yordan Alvarez at the plate, and battled with him and got an out, that's huge for the Mets. This is Reed Garrett's first time making the team out of camp as well. Reed Garrett was huge for the Mets last year. He was one of the biggest parts of the bullpen, and I need him to continue that. if the Mets bullpen is going to be as deadly as I think it is, and it's going to be, Reed Garrett has to be at the top of his game, non-negotiable. So the Mets bullpen is in a great spot, considering they brought in A.J. Minter after that. Then they went to Ryan Stanek, who was electric in the playoffs. He was mediocre, a little bit subpar in the regular season when he was traded to the Mets. But once that clock turns to October, once the games turn to playoff games, Ryan Stanek was unhittable. He was electric. He was everything the Mets are looking for out of a Ryan Stanek type guy. A.J. Minter, I think he's going to be a great addition to the Mets bullpen. I think he's going to be one of these guys that comes in, he does what's asked of him, and he's one of the better relievers in baseball. He's going to be a mid-innings reliever, probably 6-7 innings. Probably anywhere between the 6th and the 8th inning. And it'll be a bridge with Acuna. Acuna is playing second base. Hopefully he doesn't have to pitch much. Between Garrett, between Stanek, between Minter, between Daniel Nunez when he gets back, between Reed Garrett, between Jose Butto. Those guys are going to be the bridge guys to bring us to Edwin Diaz, who is still my closer. I don't know how people were thinking that Edwin Diaz was not going to be the closer because he had some velocity struggles. Yeah, Edwin Diaz is going to give you a heart attack nearly every time he comes into the game. Not nearly, but a good amount of time. But he's still going to get outs, and he's still going to win you a lot of ball games. So Edwin Diaz is the closer of this team, non-negotiable, unless he has a bad fall-off. In that case, they would probably go closer by committee. And I still think that they have the pieces to be successful if they did that, if they played a closer by committee, Carlos Mendoza pushes the buttons type role. The other thing, their starting rotation isn't the best in the sport. It's not bad by any means, but it's just not the best. And I think having a bit better bullpen and having a plethora of guys that can come in and get a lot of outs is going to be absolutely huge for the Mets. Massive, because their starters might only go 3-4 innings on a lot of nights. If they have bullpen guys, they have guys for a ton of innings. They have guys who could go a little bit longer, and Jose Butto, but they also have guys who are short-term guys that throw gas and will light up the velo, light up the radar guns, and Ryan Stanek. The other thing is Daniel Nunez will be replacing Danny Young, I think almost 100% after Young's performance in Miami in game 1 of that series. Young struggled, gave up about 3 or 4 runs in that game, I want to say. So I would assume Nunez would replace him. And Nunez was lights out for the Mets when he pitched. He just had an injury in July. I remember Nunez pitching against the Padres, where he was electric. He had a huge performance. And I would look for Nunez to continue that this season. And that's going to be huge for the Mets bullpen to lengthen their rotation and to lengthen everything they're trying to do pitching-wise. All right, that's all I have to say about the Mets. Let's get to the stuff I have for the Yankees. So the Yankees swept their series against the Milwaukee Brewers in pretty dominant fashion, but that's not what stole the headlines. What stole the headlines was their offense and the new torpedo bats. Actually, they're not new. They've been used before, but the Yankees have almost revolutionized them, brought them to the spotlight, to popularity. And to me, I think the torpedo bats are cool. I think it's innovation. It's moving forward. It's what you have a whole analytics department for. Like, what are you paying all these analytics guys to do if they're not helping your team grow? If they're not moving your team to the future? But what I will say, it's very un-Yankee-like in the fact that they're going to be the team to change. In the fact that the Yankees are the ones making a new move because they're all blue-collar. We do things the corporate way. We were clean cut, and they've kind of gone away from that a little bit with removing the beard policy to an extent, not playing Frank after they lose. I don't know how much that's the corporateness, but I like the torpedo bats a lot. It's moving forward. It's moving to the future. And apparently, a lot of people were using them in the playoffs And last year, I've heard about Francisco Lindor using it in the playoffs. But the thing that stood out to me was that they said Giancarlo Stanton got injured using a bat that's not normal. So I have to think that he was using a torpedo bat, and that's how he got injured. However, he did say today that he will be using a torpedo bat when he returns from his double tennis elbow. So if it causes injuries, it's going to be bad for the sport. But if it doesn't, and that's just an outlier case, it's fine. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I saw Alec Boehm using one today. I mean, obviously, you had Paul Goldschmidt using it. You had Anthony Volpe, Jazz Chisholm. I don't think Aaron Judge used one. Pete Alonso didn't use one when he hit his grand slam. Just saying. But no, it's definitely cool. It's moving forward. It's innovation. That's what baseball is all about. But let's talk about some of the actual play on the field. Let's just start Game 1. Austin Wells in the leadoff spot. I told you guys I loved it. I told you guys Austin Wells, I don't know, in this new era of power hitting, you kind of want a guy who can get on base and hit for home runs. And that's what I feel like Austin Wells does. I feel like Austin Wells, he hits home runs, but he also gets on base at a reasonable rate. So I like the unorthodox decision from Aaron Boone to move Austin Wells to the leadoff spot. He only had it for opening day. Paul Goldschmidt led off the other two games of the series, which I found very interesting because Goldie had never led off in his career, but in his first at-bat, on his first pitch, he went Yahtzee against Nestor Cortez, and he was using a torpedo bat for the record. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I just want to let you guys know. He was one of 3 homers on 3 pitches in the first inning against Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez picked up right where he left off. Literally, the first 3 pitches were all homers. Picked up right where he left off in the World Series, giving up that homer to Freddie Freeman. So, it also seems like the Brewers are going to have trouble with pitching this year. I mean, Nestor Cortez is their second-day starter. Game 2 starter. I don't think they're going to have all that well of pitching. They just moved off their best reliever, their closer, in Devin Williams. They traded him to the Yankees for Cortez and Caleb Durbin. I think the Yankees are going to come out on like a great side of that deal. It's going to be a great win for the Yankees because Devin Williams is one of the best closers in the sport, and you got him for Caleb Durbin and Nestor Cortez. Like, that's generational for Brian Cashman, who just picked up his 2,500th career win. Yet Yankee fans still want him fired. Make it make sense. I can't. I get he's made some questionable moves, signing Aaron Hicks to that contract, sticking with DJ LeMahieu because he is involved. It's not just Aaron Boone. Sticking with some other guys in the past. Brian Cashman has made questionable moves. But overall, your franchise has won year in and year out. I wish my franchise did that as a Mets fan. Brian Cashman should just not be removed as Yankee manager whatsoever. It just makes absolutely zero sense to me. And I don't know. I just don't get where you're coming from. But now I want to get to some of the pitching from the Yankees. Opening day, Carlos Rodon started. I think he went 7 innings. I might be wrong on that. But he went deep into the game. He was lights out. He was everything you wanted out of Carlos Rodon. That's why you paid him, what, $240 million? That's the Carlos Rodon you want to see every game. But it's not going to happen because Carlos Rodon isn't what he was when he was with the Giants for that year or two, his prime. But there is like a way that Rodon is a serious contributor and one of the better pitchers in the American League this year. Game 2, Max Fried on the mound Saturday. He didn't have his best stuff, which doesn't worry me too much, but it's definitely something you don't want to see happen again. His breaking ball wasn't where he wanted it to be. He did counteract that with good fastballs and stuff like that, but his breaking ball wasn't there, and he's a breaking ball / ground ball pitcher. That's the type of guy and the type of stuff you need out of Max Fried. You didn't get it from him on Saturday, but it's okay because your offense put up 20 runs. The thing that gets brushed past is the 5 errors and the 9 runs that were allowed by the Yankees. The Yankees are lucky that they scored 20 runs and they hit the most homers in franchise history, because they would have lost that game. And it doesn't matter. It's game 2 of 162. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to win that game, you needed to have an incredible offensive performance. All right, game 3, and then I'll say a couple more things and I'm going to wrap this up. Marcus Stroman on the mound. He was good. Marcus Stroman, after all the headlines, after he didn't show up to camp on time, except he did, was good. Thank God he didn't trade him, because you would have had Cookie Carlos Carrasco pitching. And, well, I guess it would have been Will Warren game 3, but then you would have had Carlos Carrasco pitching against the Diamondbacks game 1 and game 4. So Marcus Stroman not getting traded ended up being a lot more valuable than Yankee fans thought, because you're going to be without Luis Gil for a while. You're going to be without Garrett Cole for the entirety of the season. That is the right move by Cashman. Another good move from Cashman. But then in this game, the offense was electric again. Jazz Chisholm 2 home runs and another win for the Yanks. The Yanks start the season off 3-0. They take on the Diamondbacks tonight. The game is tied at 2-2 right now. They're looking to improve to 5-0. The Mets started 1-2. They're now looking to get to 3-2 against the Marlins. They're down 4-2 right now in the 7th. But it's okay. It's still early in the season where I don't need to be looking at the standings. I don't need to be saying records. I'm just here to let you know what happened, how it went down, and everything that has gone on with the Mets and Yankees so far. So that's going to do it for the episode. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, following, liking, commenting, sharing. I appreciate it so much. We're close to 20,000 views in the past month alone on YouTube. Make sure you go check out the YouTube channel if you're watching on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Watch some videos, watch some shorts. I really appreciate it. Also, share it with a friend. The other thing I want to say, make sure you leave me a voice note, 848-305-8073. That's 848-305-8073 with your sports questions and takes. Also, make sure you go check out all the links in the description for my socials. And last but not least, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.